Hi folks, it's week 3 of the break, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going a little stir crazy, so I thought I'd send a little lesson home for you guys. We'd be looking right now at heading into the kitchen in the next week or two, so I wanted to do a little nice safety with you folks. Set up the cutting board, how I like it done, and just to give you some practice time at home. If mom or dad let you play with the big knives, I will when we get back to school. Hopefully that'll be in the next couple of days. Anyway, here goes. First thing, I'm going to wash my hands. So, then I'm going to talk to you about knife safety and how I want cutting boards set up and stuff like that. Anyhow, washing your hands can never be too careful about that. Okay, so when you're setting up your cutting board, I think we talked a little bit about this on the bake shop side, but here's how I want it done. I'm just going to move the camera just a little bit, okay, so that when you see this, here's how I want it done. So if you don't use that, your cutting board will slide all over the place. So either a damp towel, I've got these shelf liners that we use at the school, and I use them at home as well, right? And that just stops your cutting board from really moving around, okay? So what you want to do is when you're cutting, and I'm preparing my dinner actually, but when you're cutting, I want you to always try to get to the flat as quick as possible so it's not rolling on you. And I'm going to demonstrate how not to hold this, okay? When you're cutting, never hold anything like that, right? So that your hand is exposing, because when you put pressure on, if you're risking cutting your fingers, right, or taking off that little fleshy part. And to kind of show you that, if you take your hand and you push down, and you'll see how these little fleshy parts tend to stick out. As you cut, if you hold like that, your chances of cutting yourself grow exponentially. I guess that means a lot. So what I want you to do is every time you do this, right, is that you take the thumb, which we call the dog, and you put it behind the fence. Now this is your fence. Now depending on how you do this, I've worked with different chefs in different ways, but I like to do it like this, so that the knuckles are holding the knife. Now if you see, right, at no time, right, is that knife going to come anywhere near my fingers, right? And I'm going to show you just, okay, with my actual zucchini here. So I'm going to set it up, I'm going to hold it. The dog's behind the fence, right? Set the knife. Knife never leaves the cutting board, right? And then you just move it down, and as you move it down, right, you just cut down through, right? Knife never leaves the cutting board. I mean, once you get experienced at it and you work at it like I have for a lot of years, you can get faster, but right now we're not in a big hurry. We just want to cut this, and we want it even. So if you go too fast, right? If you go too fast, you won't get the consistency you'll get. You'll get some really thin, some really thick, whereas the consistency is pretty good. Right? Now I've been doing this for a lot of years. So always have a bowl to put your stuff in when you're done. Right? And then just keep cutting through. Sometimes just, and once it gets to the end where it gets a little bit thinner or a little bit harder to hold, then you can turn it over like this. Right? When you turn it over like this, then you start your knife blade into it. Can you see that? You start your knife blade into it. You give it a big turn, and then you hold it down, right? Start it in. And then you're done, right? Okay, so I want to show you how to set up the cutting board. Like I did show you, I'm going to turn this a little bit this way. I did show you that you need the mat down, right? And you need to make sure that your board is always clear. You never want to crowd your board when you're cutting. So you always want to make sure you've got a place to put your product when you're done with it, so it's not getting all over the board. So, because I've worked with kids where they'll start here, and all their stuff will get here, and the next thing you know, you're working down here on the tiny end of the cutting board. Well, that's not the way it is. So you have to keep the cutting board nice and clean, keep your workstation nice and clean, keep everything that way, okay? Now, so when you set up your knife in my kitchen, right, is I always set it up so that the knife is not on the cutting board. I don't want it like this. That way, if there's a towel gets thrown on there, there's no risk of getting cut or anything. So I can always wipe my board, so my knife always sits there. If I'm using a secondary knife, like I've got a paring knife or something, right, I put it at the end going the other way. Okay, so you've got two knives, and obviously if there's a third knife, why you would work with a third knife, I don't know. Okay, so anyway, it goes like that, right? When you clean your cutting board, never scrape with the blade size down, right? That takes the edge off or the sharpness off. Always give it a quick turn and this way, right? Because if you do this, the chef's knife is this tool, right? It's like the plumber's wrench or the mechanic's wrench or the electrician's screwdriver. They're tools. This is the one tool that the chef can use almost anything with, is a chef knife. Now there's all kinds of different size knives in here. We have butchery knives. We have, sorry about that. We have carving knives. We have butchery knives. We have bread knives. These are all kinds of different knives that you use in the kitchen. But the chef's knife is the main tool, and that's, in this case, that one there for me, right? So that's the tool I always want to make sure. Well, I want all my knives to be sharp, but I want to make sure that that knife is really, really sharp. So when you do this, it's like a hockey skate or a skate. When you do it with the blade side down, you take the edge off. And once you take the edge off, a dull knife will cut you a lot faster than a sharp knife, because, and I'll show you this, right? If I go to cut with a dull knife, it won't cut. It will slide all over the place, right? Whereas if I have a sharp knife, right, I set it, and down it goes, and there, okay? So, and that's part of my supper. And I'm going to marinate those with a little olive oil, salt and pepper, and some cheese, maybe some balsamic vinegar on there, and that'll be my supper. That's a different lesson plan. I'm trying to do knife safety today. Okay, so when I'm done, my knife always goes back to the top, and pretty much that's knife safety in a nutshell. If you ever drop your knife, don't try to grab it, right? Just step out of the way so that it can hit the floor. If it damages the blade, you can just get it resharpened or take it out of consideration. And never play with the knife on the cutting board like this, never up and down. If you turn that little edge on the thing and it creates a little bit of a burr, when you pull through, it can cut you, right? And you wouldn't even know it was there. Okay? Always face blade in, never face blade out. Always face blade in. Pretty much that's it. And you all know that knives never go in the sink. If you use a knife, you wash the knife, you put the knife away. You never leave it in the sink for somebody else, because it's just deadly or dangerous, and you can get some really bad cuts. Respect the knife. It's the chef's main tool. Hopefully you'll get a chance to play a little bit more this year. And hopefully if this works out today, I'm going to try and make some sauces and stuff and do some more knife safety all along the way. And of course, sanitation's always important when you're working in the kitchen. So that's it for today. Welcome to my kitchen from home. Hopefully you guys will get a chance to see this and do it. Send me some feedback if you liked it, didn't like it, if you want me to stop. Hopefully that we can do something that you can show me your knife skills at home. Practice is the big thing to do. Is just practice makes perfect all the time. So just keep working on your knife skills. And remember, you don't have to rush. Just take your time, right? The skill will come as you work through it, and take your time. Anyway, thanks for listening, if you did today. And if not, check back tomorrow or whatever, and I'll try to do another video. Maybe we'll make a red sauce or something tomorrow, and we'll do it start to finish, and you guys can try it that way. Okay? Anyway, thanks for again for listening, and hopefully you learned a little bit more today. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.